أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. الله الكبير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الله الكبير. By God's grace, we are here again, and we are privileged and honored to have this few minutes making contact with our Creator and in a congregational manner. And this is a huge honor for us, so we should remember that and focus and direct all of our thanks and appreciation to God, because He's the one who has provided this for us, and we are indebted to Him for eternity. And so remember and keep in mind that the source of this honor is God alone and no one else. It's not because we are more intelligent than other people or better looking or richer than other people. This is just something that God has chosen us to do, for us to do today, and make ourselves closer to Him. And this is only by divine design and providence that we are going through this exercise today. And so accordingly, we should be grateful to Him. As I always say, that gratefulness and appreciativeness is a godlike quality, and we should follow His path and return this favor in kind, and make sure that we are always grateful to the source of this huge honor and blessing that we have today. What I wanted to talk to you today about is that the only way in this world that we can be happy is if we exercise the task that God has given us, and that task is to worship Him alone. So worshiping God alone is the way to happiness. Otherwise, we cannot be happy. Okay? We can go through other systems, and a lot of people do. 99.9% of people do that. They think that somehow accumulating wealth or having physical enjoyment is the way to happiness. And what we learn from studying the Quran and God has taught us is that the only way that we can be happy and content is to worship God alone. And if we don't do that, then everything that we do is just going to be void, and it's not going to take us anywhere. So we are in this world, and we look at other people. Usually we do that, and we think that they're very happy and they are content and have their fulfillment. And deep down, that is not what causes us to be content and fulfilled and happy. Happiness is only is achieved by making sure that we are worshiping God alone, and we have to remember this and strive at it. Okay, and this is not an easy task. Worshiping God alone is not an easy task. Okay, worshiping God alone means that He has priority over everything else in our lives. That God has a priority over everything that we do in our lives. The rest of the stuff doesn't matter, because those stuff is not going to bring us happiness. This world is a fleeting life, and so we are here for a specific interim that only God knows what the end of it is for us in this world. And when our end comes, God is going to take us. Okay. So the question is, at that time, are we happy or are we sad? Are we in turmoil? Are we in misery? Take vacation and come back from vacation and we're still the same way. We're still bored. Still don't feel good. Okay. We have, our salary increases and we are happy for a couple of days, and after that, again, sadness settles in. Okay. We have all kinds of other things in our lives that happens to us that we think that physically we are in a better shape. And somehow we have fulfilled all of our desires that we have. And then we see that there is no fulfillment in this. That we are not content. That we are not happy. Okay? And as time passes, as I said, those weaknesses are going to set in. And there's nothing we can do about it. That's God's system. He tells us about it. Okay? You get to the point you cannot open the jar anymore as easily as you did when you were younger. And so, through this system that God has created, all of these things are going to set in if we do not worship God alone. On the other hand, if we do worship God alone, who's worthy of worship, and I discussed this before, a lot of people say, why should we do that? Okay. The answer is we need it. Our souls need that. Our souls need to make contact with the Creator, with the source of that energy and that source of force and that source of power, which is the only power which exists. There is no other power. So if we do not do that, if you do not practice it, if we do not go through this exercise in our life, we are going to end up empty. And that emptiness is going to settle in our minds and our hearts. And in the meantime, you see, and Satan knows this. Satan knows, well, why don't you do this? Maybe this is going to make you happy. Okay. And that could be other things that you do in your life. And minding you that some of these things that you do in your life could be transgression of God's laws. They're not just taking an innocent vacation. It's something else that could actually, that you think that you're going to be happier by doing that. Okay. Are those things that God says do not do. And then we are going to even end up more miserable, more unfulfilled, more disturbed. That is the problem. So again, what we have to do is we have to go back to the fact that we have to maintain worship of God alone. And what we have done in our case as a community, okay, we've taken the time to log on to this site, okay, and hear about this. We have seen signs from God that others have not seen. So accordingly, the responsibility that we have is far above the rest of the people. And so we have to make sure that we are doubling our efforts into making sure that we worship God alone. So what is worshiping God alone? Well, you have to make God happy all the time. You have to go through your life and say, okay, what are the do's and the don'ts that God tell me not to do or do? Am I doing that? Am I making God happy? If any of these questions is a no question, then we have to go and reevaluate our relation with God. And if we do that, okay, then we are the winner. We are somebody who's successful. And again, when I say successful, I don't mean monetary-wise. A lot of people think that that's what success is. That's not what success is, okay? As I said, those things that you're longing for, they're not going to be that attractive once you have them, okay? The job that you were longing for a long time, okay? You go through the company or government institute or something that you have a job in, and then you find out internal politics of that place and how people are trying to, mess each other up and things like that, you see that, my God, it wasn't that attractive, was it? So you have to work with the internal politics of that place. So these are not something which is the source of happiness. Okay, so we have to make sure of that we have to make God happy, and if we do that, then we are happy. Otherwise, we are going to be sad and go through life in the state of, sadness and grief, and we don't know why things are happening to us. Okay? We think that we're not lucky, we're somehow cursed. Okay? And some people, they sit down and they moan and groan and complain and things like that. But the complaint should come back to us. We are not worshiping God alone because we did not do the do's and the don'ts that He told us. And the end result is something which is going to cause unhappiness. Okay? In other words, we did not really worship God alone. So that's the only way that we can do this. So all of these physical things that we are after in this worldly life is not worth anything compared to the fact that we have to worship God alone. Okay, so I'm going to stop here and we'll finish this unit. Allahul Kabir.